name is Tilmex. Ooh yeah, we partying with ghosts, 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 ghosts. They're the sexiest. Ooh yeah, partying with ghosts, 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 ghosts. Tilmex. Ooh yeah, we partying with ghosts, 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 ghosts. They're the sexiest. Ooh yeah, we partying with ghosts, ghosts, ghosts. name is Till Mix. Ooh yeah, we partying with ghosts, 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 ghosts. They're the sexiest. Ooh yeah, partying with ghosts, 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 ghosts. Till Mix. Ooh yeah, we partying with ghosts, 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 ghosts. They're the sexiest. Ooh yeah, we partying with ghosts, 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 ghosts. Till Mix. Partying with ghosts, ghosts. We're partying with ghosts, ghosts. His name is Till Mix. Ghosts, ghosts. They're the sexiest. Ghosts, ghosts. We're partying with ghosts, ghosts. They're the sexiest. Ghosts, ghosts. No gay demon masks, just ghosts, ghosts.
For people, here we go, people. We came on a little bit early. What's going on? I got Asian O, the time outlaw, with me. How are you doing, Asian O? What's the story?
Great, great, great. I've been trapped in L space for 268 years, and now I finally have a way to broadcast from my retardus. And there's great art out there that's keeping me company.
Yeah, fantastic, bro. It's amazing to have you. I know that you have a big history and a background in not only video but movies and everything like that. You want to tell the people a little bit about that?
So I started doing comics and stuff in high school, and then eventually decided to go to film school for college. And that's where I realized that it wasn't necessarily comics that I was into, but storytelling. And the medium dictated what kind of story I could tell. Because what's really interesting now is with AI and open source 3D programs like Unreal 5, you're able to create effects now that look not bad compared to what we used to be able to do years ago in an independent level.
Yeah, and they would, cost a lot of money, and a lot of the stuff that you've done has been fantastic. You've done a number of animations that are beyond 6 seconds long, and when I first saw the ones you did with the stickers, it really blew my mind. I was like, bro, how'd you do that? And it was fascinating how you created your own process. You figured out how to do it, how to link up all of these 6-second parts together and make a much longer animation. So kudos to you for that. Way to go.
Now, for years, I always had software that I didn't have lessons for. I just kind of put together how to use it and found cheating ways of doing it, so it was never the typical way.
Yeah.
So figuring out that, that last frame, if you just continue the animation with it, you can link them up, and it made sense to me. Because I think I might be ADD. I'm I definitely have some autism, and I look at it, especially stories and things. I see it broken down into the parts as I'm viewing it. The process is very fascinating to me. Like I'm the guy who bought the DVD to listen to the commentary.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that I love that kind of stuff. You know, I love the commentary. I love figuring it all out. I love trying to understand different things. And you know, that's what we were talking about earlier. We were going to do this on Zoom, but I just couldn't get it together in time, and we had to do it on Discord and put it all together. But I just have a little bit of time each week to do this, and so I love to put it together and each week grow a little bit more and a little bit more. Then you look back and you see that you've come a long way. And so I can imagine how you really have a good time doing that with like the animation program and like these other programs to put together movies and all that kind of stuff. And you've really built quite the studio there. And can you share a little bit about your studio and what your intentions are? And
Yeah, so the studio started being built during COVID.
yeah.
Had a lot of traumas during it. My girlfriend at the time got PTSD and ended up leaving, and then my mom developed cancer, and it was just
Sorry
a
to hear
rough
that, bro.
time. Oh, thank you. But to deal with it, I reconfigured the space in the basement and made it more of a studio space because I thought if it was like a 360 space where no matter where I put the camera, it was an interesting thing to look at.
Yeah.
I could go over by the record player and review music. I can go over by the comics and review comics. And it's still in the same location, but it feels much bigger than it actually is.
Yeah. Well, I know that when I first saw the pictures of it, I was loving it. It was kind of like a whole world within a world. And, you have such a great aesthetic and a great style as it is anyway. And then I remember, bro, the first time I called you and we chatted, I was like, who the hell is this guy with this voice like this, bro? You got like a radio voice. I was like, damn, what the hell? Rico Suave over here with a voice.
I did do some drama in high school. I really enjoyed it, in fact. And then coming up with the Time Outlaw character was an exercise in finding a version of myself that was maxed out, like how some pro wrestlers say, I'm just myself times 11.
Okay.
So I started it 5 years ago during COVID, but it wasn't until 3 years ago I started doing video tests. Then I was like, oh, well, now I know what this is. Because I kind of started it not knowing what it is. It was more of a therapeutic thing.
Okay.
Because I find when, I don't know if it's just me, but it seems to be a man thing. When you're going through some sadness, you build. You don't know what you're building. Later on, that comes. Oh, this is why I built this. And you look for a project to do. And I was building little models and stuff. Like the Retardus is chameleon circuit is stuck on the convenience store from Twin Peaks season 3. Because I pictured much I was trapped in L space because I was watching a lot of David Lynch.
Okay.
Because I love his work, how all the emotions are extreme, whether it's happy or sad or frightened or scared. Nothing is small. Everything is huge.
Yeah.
And that's what I was feeling. And I also think Twin Peaks season 3 is the greatest American piece of art in the last century.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that's going to be rediscovered down the line by another generation that's ready for it.
Yeah, like a cinephile, like people who really can appreciate the cinematics of like putting together a story and visuals and a lot of that. I remember watching it a long time ago, and I might have, now that you're saying this, I might have to go back and watch it again because you're getting me a little bit inspired here. I'm like, oh, damn, if Agent O's talking this high about Twin Peaks, I better go check that out because the only Twin Peaks I'm looking at are usually Double D. But that's another story. I don't want to. I know James is down there in the chat. I don't want to get him all riled up and all that kind of stuff. So you tell me, is that where the character, the Agent O, came from? And were you always this stylish, or was this a recent occurrence as well with the COVID? Or
It started in college.
Okay.
Like this jacket I'm wearing is from almost 25 years ago now. But in college, I started wearing suits just because I had all these suits that I had for special occasions, and I was like, I'm gonna start wearing these.
Yeah.
And then suit jackets with jeans, and then the hipsters started doing all that shit, and I was like, now it's not cool. So I had to find something else. And I started dating a goth chick. She invited me to Yule.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I was like, if I'm going to go, I'm going to go all in. So I got a frock coat and a purple puffy shirt and boots with the leather part that comes down like a pirate boot. It was just awesome. The interesting thing about the goth community was they all thought they were nonconformists. They were all conformed into one group. Like we'd be walking down the street wearing goth outfits. One of them would go, "What are they looking at?" And I'm like, "What the fuck you mean? Where are they looking at? They're looking at us. We look like Final Fantasy villains."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm like, "Don't pretend that you're not dressing like this to get looks.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like, am I the only one here who
Is
understands
self-aware.
why we're doing this?"
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't help but look, like you got a very unique style. And of course, when I liked your style immediately. And I even, was building a little character about it. And I was illustrating and, the whole pompadour, you got the kerchief there on your neck and the black and everything. And so it does stand out and, it kind of demands visual attention. And I think also that's kind of why, you and I we kind of bonded over the concept of heat punk, what we're going to discuss here in a minute. It's because it has such a unique style.
Oh, and the visuals are so striking and detailed in a strange way that even the AI can't figure it out. You need a soul to understand it. That's why you can't animate it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's all over the place, and I noticed that AI does have a hard time animating it, and it adds a whole bunch of artifacts, and they can't keep it straight.
Yeah.
But when I was looking at Heat Punk, I read it again last night. It was very much a fantasy, very much a imagination, but at the same time, it felt familiar. Is that how it came across to you?
Yeah, it feels like the cover of a Dio album made into a story.
Yeah.
And in that great way that heavy metal books were.
Yeah, I remember heavy metal, yeah.
Where it heavy metal was more shorter, but it would bring you into a world and it would have to introduce it really quick. And Bacillus is really good at introducing it really quick and getting you interested in the world and kind of understanding and bringing you along. It reminded me of my head's not very good. Brutal Legend.
Okay.
Which was a video game from 20 years ago now. That Star Trek Black that took place in a heavy metal world, and they tried to make it look like what if these heavy metal jackets were real?
Yeah.
Whereas in that story, it was kind of an Alice in Wonderland where a roadie gets brought into the metal world. This is someone who's a denizen of the metal world being in the metal world and going on a quest. And what's great about it is, like just any kind of great writing, each sequence, a character wants something, and someone is preventing them from getting it, whether it's Heat Punk wanting to get the base or them wanting to get the base from him. Everyone's motivations really easily.
Yeah, yeah. It's so fantastical, and like I said, and yet it still feels familiar because it has that component of that hero's journey that we can all identify with a little bit. And some of us are heroes, some of us might be villains, but we still kind of identify it. That's right, James. I'm talking to you, bro. But one of the things that I really liked about it was how creative it was. And you and I were talking about this a little bit, and you said even some of the conversational bubbles made it sound like he was a little bit of a Hunter S. Thompson character. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, because because he doesn't use thought bubbles and he's kind of mumbling to himself all the time, or at least I took it as a mumbling, like a Hunter S. Thompson, like the Johnny Depp movie. And it made me laugh a lot of times because I could hear him talking to himself out loud and then someone kind of bursting in and responding to what he's not intending to say to someone.
Right, like he's like mid thought, and he's kind of like, or like
Yeah.
when you're a little bit buzzed. I don't know if you drink or not, but I drink tequila. When you get a little bit buzzed, and you're sitting there, oh, should I have another? And you're literally having that conversation, and somebody slaps you on the back and says, yeah, have another. And you're like, oh shit, you heard that?
Yeah.
You know, you don't realize that you said it out loud, and that's why it was kind of funny. And I was kind of like, you know, it made me laugh too, and I kind of got that sense of humor, and that is really a nuanced kind of thing to layer in the story. And it looks like such a like you said earlier, like gothic or punk kind of visuals, but with that sense of humor, which kind of like softens it up a little bit, the story wise, and introduces that element of humor that makes it more multifaceted. And I really enjoyed that from a writing standpoint. And so that was a really good point that I thought that you made. Now, I did get it. Go ahead, and we mentioned this earlier. I did grab something off my shelf. I had the Isom one, and we were chatting a little bit about that beforehand. And I said, I don't think I've even ever cracked open my Isom. So here it is. I got it right here. Proof still not cracked open.
I have my Isom one, and then because I will give everyone a chance, and I believe that Chuck Dixon might have taught him rising and falling action and maybe 3-act structure. Want part 2 because it had ABS cover.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time I read Isom, I got halfway through and I was, oh my god, this is bad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the art. It was just the storytelling. It wasn't structured, and writers make it look so because they know the structure in and out. And then at Ricada Stream, or it might have been the Dick Masterson one, I can't remember, but when he admitted he didn't know what Rising, Fall, and Action was, and he's like, oh, it's got some action scenes. I'm like, uh-oh. And then he further reiterated, who wrote the rules on writing? I'm like, I don't know, Robert McKee. You can get rules on writing by Stephen King. Like, it's not hard to find really good references on how to write a story efficiently. So I thought, you know what, it was his first time, and I'll give it a shot. And then the second time they did that video where it was like, well, Chuck Dixon is mentoring me. So I thought, well, he'll teach him about structure first, frontals. But there was none of that in there. I don't think Chuck Dixon helped him at all.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that for me, I buy mostly the comic books for the art, and if I see something that's artistic, I'm like, I want it. And like I mentioned to you earlier, I got the Wolverine, the Greg Capullo. I got a whole bunch of these because I love the art. I don't even know if I'll read it, but I'll go through it and I'll look at the art and I'll try to copy the art, and that's always been my first love. But I supported the Isom concept because it was an independent comic, and I actually heard about him through the Friday Night Tights guys, and I didn't even really know about Ethan or the Comicsgate or anything like that until this whole ball got rolling. And I knew about Eric July before I knew about Ethan. How crazy is that, right? In comics books. Now I knew Ethan had made like the Green Lantern and all that stuff. Like I had heard his name before, but I wasn't like aware that he was doing a whole channel with Comicsgate and all that stuff. And so I remember that I purchased it, and because I wanted to support independent comics. And when I first got it in the mail and I looked at the artwork, I was like, oh man, I got taken right here. And yeah, I just knew right off the bat, just the way it looked, just the way the weight and the characters was carried, their pose, everything. I knew right off the bat that it was a digital, 3D asset, digital coloring, and I was kind of disappointed with that. So I just kind of let it go. But when you read it, what were your impressions? Just that it was incohesive, right? And I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but I'm kind of setting it up so that when we talk about what Vasilis does in his comic, we can see the compare and the contrast.
Well, because I remember one of the arguments was that it was manga pace. So longer storylines that have a lot of visual setups, like setting up the environment. But that's not really what was. But those mangas, the 15 pages that they put out weekly, still have a 3 act structure. It's not a
Right.
3 act structure for the whole arc, unless it's One Piece that goes for like 1,000 issues for an arc. But it's generally a 3 act structure for the arc, and then a 3 act structure for the 15 page chapter. And that's what I didn't get. Like, you had to read the. He was implying that you had to read all 3 issues to get the structure, but that's not how comics work. You need to be able to have structure in your one section, and then the next section, and then the whole thing.
Right.
A lot more thought that goes into it in terms of breaking it down beforehand, and it was clearly not broken down beforehand.
Yeah, it's kind of like you said. There is a, you don't have to follow the rules to tell a story, but out of all the stories that people have been telling for their entire time and history of humanity, it tends to start to develop into this rhythm, doesn't it? And that's kind of what we follow is
Yeah.
this rhythm of storytelling. And of course, you can break rules here and there, but for the most part, we stick to this rhythm because people mostly operate on a 3 beat sequence: a beginning, a middle, and an end. A hello, a message, and a goodbye.
Yeah, and the thing with breaking the rules and deconstructing, the ones who do that are the ones who've already mastered the regular way of telling it. You can't deconstruct something you don't understand. That's why this new, well, not new, but what Comicsgate started was the deconstructionist movement was deconstructing something, but with nothing to replace it. So, and not understanding why it was popular to begin with. So you're not really you're deconstructing the thing to the point where it's not anything anymore.
Right, and it really is about storytelling. And people are always like, well, it's just comics. It's just comics. What's the big deal? But I would postulate that it is a huge deal because comics are really the root of contemporary storytelling. They're really like the storyboards for the movie. They're really, experimentation with stories and plot lines and narratives that then get implemented in higher and higher investments, like whether they move to animated series or they move to movies or they move to, full novels or real movies with the real life actors and stuff like that and budgets. It all starts in the comic book because when you're in a comic book and you have a comic like this, a lot of this is the storyboarding for all of the scenes and everything already broken down so a director can visualize that. Would you agree with that or do you have a different take?
Oh, no, no, absolutely. And that's why I never understand when you buy a comic property, you wouldn't go to the originators of the concept and the original artists of the concept. Instead, they're always like proud to announce that, well, we told them not to read the original comics so they can do their own take. But it's like, then why do you buy it?
Right.
If you want to do something completely different than what the original concept is, then why use it in the first place?
Yeah.
Uh, I know everyone loves Watchmen, and I think Watchmen is great, but I really disagree with the decision to make Dr. Manhattan the reason for the explosion at the end, or the supposed reason. Because in all the logic of the world, and the world that we know, you think the rest of the world would not blame the U.S. for what Dr. Manhattan did when they were promoting him and he fought Viet Cong for them? Like, that's just how human nature is. Like, that wouldn't have united the world. You needed, it was an alien threat because it was something outerworldly that the human race could unite together. And it doesn't make any sense that they would unite with the U.S. when literally their A-bomb blew up and no one blinked. Get out of here.
Yeah, that is a good point, and I think you're touching on a much larger point, which is a good writing stays within the rules and then surprises you with imagination while not breaking any of those rules, and that's really the trick to great writing. Lazy writing or bad writing, it has all of these ideas, but they then break the rules that they set in their own narrative. And then what it becomes is it becomes something other than a storytelling. It becomes more like propaganda or social engineering or something like that. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. Shane Davis has mentioned it before that he talked to Andadito and he would tell him that you could do something with the character to a certain point and bend the character, but never break them. And it seemed like once they got rid of a certain amount of old guard, and it was just breaking time. We're just going to break the characters. They're not going to act like they used to act. They're not going to act logically like the and at the time because I started following comics way back with Captain Cummings
And what year
and
was that?
2016, 17, something like that. I don't
Okay.
remember completely because I was still in a relationship at the time and dealing with other things. But I kind of was getting videos online and noticing things. It was Star Wars that really was like, what's all these interviews? And then Ghostbusters, and it, it wasn't even the movies themselves. It was mostly the way the artists would talk about not the movie,
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
but the movie.
yeah. And they would
And
try to convince you with some other means, right? Is that what you're hinting at?
yeah, like for instance, the female Ghostbusters movie could have been a good movie. Like the story they were trying to tell could have been done as a direct sequel to the original Ghostbusters movie, except using the original concept that they had, where it was several Ghostbusting organizations, but they were like exterminators. So there's
Okay.
multiple companies. And if they had done that, then they could have had the all-female team dealing with them just getting into the business and that, but they wanted to make them the originators of the concept and then essentially trying to usurp the original movie.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what a lot of these remakes are, is let's correct the original movie and replace it.
Right.
Because a lot of, and it seems like there's a lot of young people don't watch old stuff.
Hmm.
Like if it's not new. Also, but that also might be due to the conditioning that they grew up in. Because when we grew up, if you wanted to watch cartoons, you had to get up at 7 in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
And most of the time you'd get up at 6 or 6:30 and there'd be an old sitcom on beforehand, or old sitcoms would come on after the cartoons in the afternoon. So you'd watch stuff that you didn't pick. Now you only watch what you pick. So you're never exposed to anything that you've not been told about, or um, something that you wanted to watch yourself.
Yeah, that's a great point. Did you also watch like the Friday Night Tights crew and all those guys, or how was that? Because I started
Oh,
watching those guys
definitely.
first. Yeah.
I because the part of my autism is uh, talk radio. It started
Yeah.
in
Oh, I
high school.
love talk radio. I love talk radio. Yeah.
I used to have a earbud that would come up with my thing and put it in my head so that I could just concentrate at school, but it was just voices talking in my head. And I've always had
I think I
something.
had those without the earbud. Go on.
So it was local talk radio, and then Howard Stern came in. I found him. It was so entertaining. The characters that he created on the show, and then he went to Sirius, and I followed him for a long time until I remembered that very episode. Um, Fred played a clip that he always played with the first Kiefer Sutherland's favorite word and worst word, because his worst word was the N word. So they were like, "What is your favorite word?" And it's like that's
Wait,
a joke
what
that they
was
played.
his favorite word?
But his favorite word was Latin gravitas.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And so
they just reversed it to make him say the bad word as the good word. And Fred played it like he always did, and then Howard chastised him. You can't just do that. People might think that. And I'm like, that Kiefer Sutherland said that, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What? You've been playing that all this time, and now you're chastising him? And then at some point, he also said that I'm not like you. I know you people think I'm like you. And I'm like, I know you're not like me, but the fact that you're
Saying that? That's crazy.
Yeah. That's part of the autism. I would download the show as opposed to listen to it live so I could listen to the whole thing. And I caught all this weird stuff happening. And it was after Artie Lang left, he was gone, and there were no more edgy comedians on. And it was just, I'm good friends with Rosie O'Donnell. And even that, I think all of that was paid for. Like in some kind of, like what happened with, what's her name? Angelina Jolie, where she went overnight from being the weirdo on the carpet with blood around her neck, making out with her brother, to United Nations sweetheart.
Yes.
Overnight.
Yes. Overnight. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It was an op.
Yeah.
And because I was so invested in listening to everything, I saw it, picked up on it slowly happening. And then, because it doesn't make any sense that throughout all that woke period, one person came out and said, "Hey, Howard, I don't think it was a feminist reason that you were stripper's ass."
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, and you start to see those patterns of that social engineering, and it's really hard to. The more and more they do it to the more and more properties, it's really hard to ignore. And in fact, then they try to turn around and gaslight you, because primarily it's the men that notice this stuff, and they just try to say, it's a masculinity problem, or you hate women, or whatever, misogynistic and all that stuff. And so then that's one of the reasons why I started watching the Friday Night Tights, the whole crew, is because they were saying how bullshit the movies were. And I was like, fuck yeah, the movies are bullshit. And then like I saw Eric July coming on there, and I was like, he said, I'm going to start trying to do my own comic book. And I was like, hell yeah, finally some people are starting to, do something about this, and I wanted to support it. And then that's when we kind of came to ISOM. And then, of course, we had the whole meltdown with that. I love Dick Masterson's confrontation with Eric July. That was beautiful. His unraveling with Nick Rekieta, and also his headbutting with Ethan Van Sciver. And I really loved it when Trashcast started up and fired up, and I was all, then I was all into it, right? I'm trying to learn it all.
And then one thing at Comics Day will always be extra special to me. And that's why I understand Anna's deeply emotional reaction to what happened with the Jack show. For me and my brother kind of had a rift for many years, because we kind of drifted apart. And he suddenly started sending me Zach videos. And I'd already been watching them, and I didn't know he was watching them. I was like, oh, so you're aware of this too. And then we bonded on watching Ethan and Zach and the Jack show and all that, especially during COVID, because there wasn't a lot to do. And those streams were so entertaining and reminded me of the old Stern days and the great days when there were multiple characters. And one thing that hurt Stern that I'll say always when he went to Sirius was, because it wasn't on the air, he couldn't get the real weirdos to call in every day. Because when it was just an open air show, you got that's how he found the Whack Pack, was weirdos calling in.
Yeah.
And if there's like a barrier to entry, then you lose the real weirdos. And like since the beginning, Comicsgate attracted a lot of weirdos.
Yeah, and that's saying it mildly.
Yeah, and unless you've been around a long time, so many people weren't there when some of these weirdos started and are just getting introduced to them now and don't even know how involved Edwin and all of them were at the beginning, or like mid, I guess.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is kind of interesting is that artists are weird people. artists
Yeah.
and musicians are weird people, and that's kind of also why I appreciate Vasilis, because he's a weirdo, bro. He is a weird guy,
Oh yeah.
and but he's a fun weird. He's the kind of guy that is on the way out there, but he has a really strong empathetic heart, and you can feel that. And I was really excited that when I was like, hey, Asia, you want to review this or talk about it a little bit, and you were like, for sure. And then I got to, we chatted, and I got to know a little bit more about you, and I was like, holy shit, this guy actually has like a history and cinematography and film and all this kind of stuff. So it'll be a pretty interesting conversation. And it's interesting how we've ended up where we're at. You came through Howard Stern, through, all of that. And I was like Michael Savage, on the radio. And
Yeah.
I listened to all that kind of stuff. And I was just like, he was my guy, bro. Michael Savage, he would, get up there and, just, talk his thing or whatever. And then, I gave up cable, I gave up Netflix, I gave up all that stuff, and then just started doing YouTube, like around COVID, kind of like what you were talking about. And then I found Revenge of the Sis guys, and I was watching Mersh on Nightwave, and I remember watching many of his Gloom Tube when the riots were happening, BLM and all that kind of stuff. And you're right, you kind of bonded with those people because you were shut in with them, and there was nothing else to do.
No, and I still remember, like, as much as I dislike Stern now, his 9/11 stream, 'cause my birthday is actually 9/11.
Oh, wow.
So I was listening to Stern because I always like to listen to see if anything interesting would happen on my birthday. And they announced it live on air because they're down the street from it. And then he stayed on air for something like 15 hours just so people had a place to talk and tell their stories and stuff. And it was a real event and a real thing that you felt a part of because it was a community driven thing at the time. And then when it moved over to being just celebrities and just the biggest celebrities, you realize, oh, you say you hated being you liked being the outsider, but you really wanted to be inside. And now that you're inside, fuck all the outsiders who got me inside.
Well, that's a very interesting observation because we do see that over and over. And isn't that kind of what we're seeing with Eric July a little bit? He says he wants to be counterculture, and yet he hires all the people who are the people he stood against. He creates, media that embraces those kind of things. He makes Mary Sue type of characters. That's a very astute observation, and it's almost like they lose their authenticity. They lose the thing that makes them interesting in exchange for the money or for whatever it is. I don't know.
Well, I remember one time when the Zero started posting, "We are the media," and I was like, "Well, guess what? Fuck journalism. And
Yeah.
if you are the media now, then fuck you." Because we've seen what happens when media gets power and gets money. It becomes about making the money,
Right.
and then opinions don't matter anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
well,
true.
well, that was one of the things that I noticed even before EBS had his after the Zack Snyder thing, when EBS did that stream and called them zeros, and Az got really mad. Even before then, I noticed that Comics Day was there and releasing books, but zero of them were really promoting it. I'm like, isn't this the alternative? Isn't
Yeah.
this what you guys have been complaining about all the time? But that's not the real what they want. They want conservative Batman.
Yeah.
They want conservative Superman. They don't really want anything new. They want the things they had when they were kids, but speaking politics that they want. They actually do want propaganda, but for them. And that's what I noticed. It's not about making it that, because everyone should be able to make whatever they want. You want to make your gay, trans superhero, fine, but don't change another superhero to be gay and trans just to try to siphon off whatever fans that had in order to give it a boost up because it never works. Like, we've seen them try it so many times and it never works. And it's really because, um, like, I grew up Catholic and I didn't like Christian movies and stuff because they're lecturing you.
Yeah,
It doesn't
because they're
matter what
boring.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you're being lectured about, whether it's the left or the right. It's that you're being lectured is the problem.
Yeah,
Once it becomes a lecture, then no one wants to watch it.
yeah. Yeah, that's the truth, and it is so true because I remember listening to I grew up Christian as well. Yeah, I listened to Christian music and all this kind of stuff, and it never like connected with anything that was exciting or electric or fun. It was always like it felt like I was being told to do my homework or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just there was no fun about it. It was just something I was obligated to do. I didn't have genuine desire for it. It was just an obligation. And you cannot sustain any type of a culture out of obligation because then it becomes slavery and servitude. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. No, and that's what it feels like a lot of people were doing was that you have to get this or you're a bad person. And at first, it seemed like people, well, I better still script this, especially in video games. Like people video games, no matter how much they complained about them. And then in the last 2 years, oh wait, I don't have to buy this. I can just not buy the thing. And now you're seeing all these AAA companies, every game is banned.
Yeah.
Nothing is doing well. And it's got nothing to do with that people don't like playing video games. It's just that we don't see the value in what you're releasing.
Right. Yeah, the top-down control has become so integrated with the process that it destroys the product on the end, and they charge more and more. But I always go back to like when you play Nintendo or PlayStation. There was games you dove into and you just had fun from beginning to end. And I gave up a lot of video games, more contemporary video games because they felt like a job. Something that I have to do this before I can get the cool gun. I have to do all this before I can get the cool this, and I can do that. And it became like a part-time job, and I was a kid, and I'm like, what am I doing?
No, it was great. And then because I found Confiscate and it really helped out during COVID and all the personalities that I enjoyed, then I started noticing this Wandering King. Murdoch Knight, who was in the chat, saying the hilarious shit. And he was posting on Twitter at the time all this hilarious July pictures. But the thing I noticed about the art, it wasn't just a sketch to make fun of him. It was like an actual well thought out, really crazy designed parody.
Yeah.
Like it was saying more than just, oh, he has hairy shoulders. Like it was telling a whole story about something that got talked about on Trashcast the night before.
No, it's true. And I know it's interesting you say that because Marduk Knight was one of my first friends on Twitter. He was like one of my very first friends. I didn't know who he was, and I didn't really even know who Vasilis Lolos was either at that time. And but he befriended me out of nowhere, bro. And he said, "Hey, I like your cartoons." And I was like, "Oh, okay, thanks, bro." And then we would just chat about it, And he was just a really nice person. And it turns out to be, I don't want to blow his cover, but I think the cover's already blown a long time ago. He did it. We didn't do it here, people. Calm down. He blew his cover a long time ago. But it turned out to be Vasilis, and he was just being a really nice guy about it. And I was really appreciative of that. I didn't know who he was. He was saying, I made a little comic about the whole Eric July and all that kind of stuff because I was really pissed off when I got this right here. I was really pissed off and disappointed. I did. I felt betrayed. I paid like $70 for it, $35 for the book, and then $25 for shipping. And when I got it, I felt like I had been taken advantage of by somebody who was supposed to be on my team, and I had never gotten that bad taste out of my mouth. And Vasilis was the one that says, "Yeah, go ahead and make this into a comic." And I honored him a little bit, and I put his character in the very, very end of that comic, the Marduk Knight. And so that's funny that you bring that up, because I have a similar story about that. Now, we'll go over there and start talking about the He Punk real quick. And I know that I was told you about how we have. Let me see if I can't get this chat off the screen. I got it all in the way. Okay, there we go. We got it out the way. No problem. But this is an example of the opening page of He Punk, and how I'm going to go ahead and I got to hit interact so I can move around people. So if you hear me kind of pause and I'm trying to do the clicking when you ain't seeing what I'm doing, I'm trying to be all sly about it, and I just told on myself. So we got He Punk right here, and of course, like right off the bat, people are going to freak out because he has fingernails, right? They're going to be like, "Oh my God, he's got fingernails. What's going on here?" And so what are your thoughts on that?
What nipple ring?
Yeah, he's got a nipple ring, and this was very, very punk, And so as you can see, the style of He Punk is like fucking over the top. It looks like a Saturday morning cartoon on acid, doesn't it?
Oh no, exactly. And that's, once I started seeing artwork from the book, it was wild shit that reminded me of Yosuke Amano. I think it's his name, Yoji Amano, the Final Fantasy painter.
Yeah.
All those kind of crazy, and some of the designs looked like that, and then some of them were with like straight up manga, and then he seemed to be playing from so many basics, creating his own style from them.
Yeah, he did. He created his entirely own style, entirely own color palette and everything, and it just all comes together. At first you're thinking like, what the hell is even going on here? Because you're looking at it, and he's got these, earrings. He's got all this stuff going on, and you're like, this dripping, these very in-your-face colors, if I could say. You got the lime green, you got the magenta, you got the purple. It doesn't seem like it fits, but really it does fit together, and it fits perfectly with the story, because it's like a dream. It's like your imagination. It's like you're being woken up to something.
Yeah, like he's an artist that's not afraid to give you a purple sky, and there doesn't need to be an explanation for it. It's just artistic, bro.
Yeah, and so I don't want to go through the whole thing because I don't want to give it all away, but we're going to hit on some favorite parts of me and you, and I will tell you briefly about what the story's about. Or Asian, why don't you tell us briefly about what the story's about?
So, first introduced to He Punk, and he's talking to someone, but we don't know who it is. And then early on, we find out he's on a quest, and he's looking for a new bass.
A new bass. He's looking for a bass guitar. Now, how badass is that? And haven't we all been there, right? Like, I mean, I don't play guitar, but I'm always looking for, my paintbrush that I like, or my pen that I like, or my magic paper, or like you play guitar though, don't you? I think you play the bass. Yeah, that's right.
Here.
You got your bass right there. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, look, there's a little.
Oh yeah, I got the sticker on there. I love it. Yeah, hell yeah.
No, when I get stickers, I stick them.
Yeah, me too. I'm the same way. I put them all over everything. I put them on my computer. I put them on my my notebooks and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, so back to He Punk. He's out there and like he's looking for a bass. And here's an example of some of the artwork, and he's going through and he's like, "Where's the bass?" And so pick it up from there, Asia. No.
Well, and the interesting thing about each of the characters, they speak in their own rhythm.
Yeah.
So He Punk speaks in his own way that's different from the other characters. And each character, it feels like you can imagine their voice by how the dialogue is written.
Yep. Yeah, you could definitely feel it.
Like definitely like here, it's a whole page of him talking to a silent guy, but it's so entertaining and that's why I get the Hunter S. Thompson thing, like just mumbling and talking and not really caring about the rest of the world. He's on his quest.
Yeah, he's on his quest to find the base. And so there's all these little toadies in here. Like, look at that little green toady up there. This is, I think this is on page... yeah, on page 6, I think. Or is that 6? Or I can't... The numbers are so tiny, I can't... I'm trying to look and see. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, it's on page 8. On page 8, he's got that little toady there, and he's like, they're all looking for it. And he even has the funny rhythm of how he talks. Conana, banana, later, fuckface. I love that. I mean, like, I can see James saying that. You know what I'm saying? It's just he's got a little bit of bravado about himself.
Well, and then you see how he introduces locations like the graveyard. That's what we're talking about. What I was trying to describe as manga style. It's him introducing.
Yeah, let me go ahead and find that. What page? Do you know what page that is? I'll try to go down to the graveyard. Try to jump down there. Page 11. Okay, cool. There it is. Bam. Yeah, here's the graveyard right here. He's, exactly. It's just like a whole. It's a visual storytelling. You could see it animated just right there. Yeah.
Like, it's introducing the location from a wide shot to a close up to a medium shot, and it's all communicated in a way that's easy to understand and beautiful to look at.
Yeah, and it just flows, and you can start to get the rhythm of the conversation. And this guy that's like, the little toady guy that's following behind him, trying to keep his eyes on him, trying to spy on him for the big bad guy, the bad boss guy, and he's going after Heat Punk, and he's like, what the hell is this guy doing? Why is he going to the graveyard? Why is he going to get a base? And he better not find the good base, And turns out there's a secret base. And I tell you, one of my favorite things was that flying shovel. Let me see if I can.
Oh yeah, I was just about to mention it. That whole section is a great section in terms of build up and satisfaction at the presentation of what the surprise is at the end of it.
Oh, I loved it. I love the fact that so basically Heat Punk goes to this this graveyard and says he needs to get a base, and the guy says, okay, well, you need to dig it up, and here you got to get a magic shovel. The magic shovel flies in, and it actually has bat wings, and it's alive, and it's going to do the digging for him. And and then one thing leads to another, and the magic shovel goes crazy and goes insane and flies off the page and goes and finds the super secret magic base, and that's kind of what he digs up. And then everybody freaks out about it. Like, oh my God, he actually found it! Oh, And so I was loving that. And look at the artwork on page 11. On page 16. The artwork is just fantastic.
Well, and then this character here is clearly like a British punk.
Yeah.
Presentation and speech.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then, I don't want to give away too much. And one of my favorite, there's a bad guy in here, and he's like a giant spider. And that was fascinating how that happened. So Heat Punk, goes to this bar, and then this creeper just slides up, and it's like it's oozing with real evil, because that's the way evil is, right? It slides up next to you, and it says, "Hey, you want another drink?" And so he understood that. It's not like he didn't say, "Oh, hello, I'm Mr. Evil Man, and I'm here to be evil." He's like, "No, let me give you another drink. Let me go ahead and, wrap you up in a little bit more of seduction." You know what I mean?
No, and it was very, very well done and upsetting in a good way.
Yeah, it was upsetting. Yeah.
The menace.
Yeah. And I love that. Here's another really cool page, page 47. I loved it with I loved how he bent the faces around, and he kind of, just transformed the faces, and you could see what they are, but they're all, twisted, and they're all strange, and it is really like an acid trip, not that I'm not. Go on. I'm sorry.
The expressions that he Punk makes. So expressive.
Yeah.
That you can feel the animation of it.
Yeah, you could totally feel the animation of it. And there's a couple of really fun pages that I love. Like, here's an example of the spider. Like, bro, look how evil that spider is. I'm on page 60, and the spider comes out, And it's funny because the spider's coming after him and it wants to jump out the window, and he says, "You're too fat," and so the spider jumps out anyway. But look how nasty that spider looks. That's a fucking
Oh, that's
nasty
great.
ass spider. And I hate it when people make evil things and they don't really look evil. I can't stand that. That's one of the things that I really, really hate. And then let me go ahead and jump down here to page 70. That was one of the standouts for me that I absolutely loved. The page 70 was so much action. Look at page 70. Page 70 is when he's like fucking taking it to that spider, bro. That's it right there. That's a blacklight poster right there. I'd hang that motherfucker up in my room, bro, and I'd just fucking play the punk and like get to it. You know what I'm saying?
It was at page 76 is where I felt like this was talking to us. And
Okay, let me jump.
beating us over the head with magic art.
Let me jump to page 76 real quick. Page 76. That is an awesome page. Yeah, that's an awesome page. And he just fucking splat. Yeah.
I feel spoken to.
Yeah, it's an awesome page.
I do deserve this.
Yeah, like look at that face. I mean, that's like he's just getting down to it right there. And this kind of just reminds me of a lot of the cartoons. I love the flats too. I love the fact that it's not computer as far as like, airbrushed and manipulated and made to look like, it's some kind of a claymation or something like that. These are the kind of flats that I used to like when I would watch Bugs Bunny, or the Looney Tunes, and I would absolutely love them. And of course, they're very saturated colors, turned all the way up to an 11, which I really appreciate it because, like I said, it's very. James says it. He just says it's very visceral, and yeah, it's very visceral. And I completely agree. It's a very visceral comic, and I don't want to go ahead and ruin too much of it. I think we've gone through a lot of it right now. But it's a very visceral comic, and it's a lot of fun, and it's engaging, and there was a number of surprises in there. What were some of the surprises, if you don't want, you can say or kind of dance around or whatever, some of the surprises?
Well, the finale in the graveyard, I really love presentation of that. And then we're not going to show it, but the next page after this is really great with the spider getting his comeuppance and this beast getting his comeuppance. Like, all of it is great.
Yeah. One of the things I really loved was one of the surprises about what was actually inside the spider. I love that.
Yeah.
I thought that was creepy as hell, bro. And I couldn't believe that. I was like, damn, what's that all about?
No, it reminded me of scary stories to tell in the dark. Did you ever read that when you were a kid?
Yeah.
Those drawings in that were horrifying, and they stuck with you.
Yes, or like like Outer Limits, or even I would watch some of the old Twilight Zone, and I would love that, and I would just be like, oh, bro, this is incredible. I asked you, I said, hey, is he still selling this? The one thing that I was kind of disappointed in the book had nothing to do with the book itself. It was just the fact that I wanted a physical copy. I wanted to be able to hold the artwork myself and be able to like put it on my shelf and pull it down and maybe reference it and use some of the influence for some of my art later. But I was kind of bummed. I hope he does release some physical copies in the future, especially if he makes a number 2, which I'm sure he will. But I just pulled up his Indiegogo for the current one that he's working on, SaturnHead, which is getting it's going through the crowdfunding. I said all the wrong words. Now I'm putting them all together. the crowdfunding process right now, and he's funding it. So I'd say, hey, back SaturnHead, because if you like Outer Limits, if you like Twilight Zone, if you like these things that are smart and they have these surprises in them, and it stays within the rules of storytelling, you're going to like these books. You're going to like the artwork. One of the things I really love about his artwork is, there's a lot of symbology in him. Would you feel the same way?
Oh, absolutely. Especially seeing the trailer for SaturnHead. There's a lot of really interesting imagery that you have no connection to what the story is, but you're fascinated and you want more.
Yeah, he has some very very fascinating stuff. I'll try to post those down in the description for you guys to go check that out. And now I wouldn't be pitching if I didn't think it was going to be any good. Because listen, where'd it go? I already made that mistake. Okay, I already made that mistake, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse or anything like that. But one of the other things I wanted to pull up here was I wanted to pull up.
Cecil's cash grab wasn't bad.
Yeah, well, yeah. Cecil's cash grab was pretty good too.
Yeah.
I wanted to pull up. Let's see here, the browser. Here we go. I wanted to pull up his merch store, and he's got some pretty cool merch too. The cool thing about his merch is that it looks cool. It looks like something I'd actually buy. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't wear like a Superman shirt, okay? But I would wear something like this. It kind of looks like some sort of Greek pottery or something like that. It looks like very very iconographic or however you say that. But what are some of your thoughts on this?
I definitely am looking forward to having the money to buy the deluxe heat punk hat. The minute I saw that, I was like, I want that.
Where's that? The deluxe one? Which one is that one?
Read off the word. This one here, the green one, the mega loaded hat
Oh, no. Okay.
on the right.
Oh, I got you right here.
Right.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, that does look fire. That does look good. The heat punk hat
Got
with
a
the
whole
green.
bunch of pieces on it.
Yeah, I like that. That looks good. Don't know about that fella, but whatever. All good. Yeah, it looks fire. And I like his stuff. I like Vasilis. I like what he does.
Like this guy.
Yeah. You got a lot of the same kind of style that he's got. Which is pretty cool. So I'd say, all in all, the reason why I really wanted to have a conversation about it with you is because I know that you really liked the heat punk, and I really liked it too. And I felt like it didn't get enough shine. It didn't get enough of the spotlight because it is not really like a superhero kind of book. It's not kind of like a David Fitch or a classical type of comic book.
Well, and also with the other kings, they come from more of a mainstream place, so people recognize their previous work as Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, whereas Vasilis has indie books and then work for mega artists like Wu-Tang, and it's like, oh, this guy is coming from a completely different mindset, and he's doing really interesting things, but people didn't know him, and because of what's happened in the past with acting people that you don't know, people don't trust easy anymore.
Yeah.
And I think, but the minute I saw his art, I knew it was legit.
Yeah.
I was like, I can get behind. When he's doing, I get behind.
Yeah.
And it is awesome.
Yeah, he did a couple of campaigns for like Dolce and Gabbana. He's done a different fashion. He's done a couple of music videos, and so he really has an understanding of like even graphical design, layout, and things that how to arrange things to make it look cool on a shirt or on a image or whatever. It's not just like a Spider-Man or something on a shirt. It's actually there's more value in it than just the character. There's actually some design sense behind it, which I really love. And I ain't trying to glaze somebody, but if it's good, I'm going to say it's good. You know what I'm saying? If it's bad, I'm just not going to cover it. We got.
No, exactly, and that's.
Go on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, and that's what I try to do on my X account is just promote good art and be a positive force in the world.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's why me and you get along so well. The Headless Bourgeoisie said Vasilis' work is great. He's a very solid visual storyteller and designer underneath the hyper-stylized imagery. And I think he even won an Eisner Award. Didn't he win an Eisner Award or something like that? So he's like he's like the real deal. He's legit. He's a solid guy. I think he draws more from an international style. I wouldn't say
definitely.
I wouldn't say exclusively like anime or manga, but he pulls from an international kind of style, and he kind of has his finger on the pulse like that. And so, to me, it's very, very exciting. And when I look at his work and his art, it gets me really excited. And I love the fact that he's not afraid to take risks and he's not afraid to look like an idiot, And I love that. That's kind of how I try to vibe that way too,
Oh, we're about having fun here, being entertaining and being entertained. And that's why I think now people. That's why he's moving up in the ranks on the wizard or
Hierarchy.
the warlock hierarchy because he's entertaining. People are now starting to get his personality, and they're starting to see the value he brings to the shows.
Yeah, he is a real character, and he's a breath of fresh air, and I appreciate that. And I think that it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I don't want to have to buy a story out of obligation. I want to be genuinely excited to get a hold of it, and then I want it when I do get a hold of it. I want it to deliver. I don't want to get a hold of something and then be bummed like, oh man, that was like, 30, 50, $60. I wish I didn't spend that. I want to get a hold of something and be like, oh wow, I'm glad I got, one while they were left. I'm glad I get on this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's why when you look at the sales of something like Inglorious Rex, how it's gone up with every issue as opposed to go down because people are coming on with the ready-made version of her website. And they're like, well, I'm going to back the third one now that I'm caught up. This is
Yeah.
the real deal. This is legit.
Yeah.
So it can only get better. The more people read the older issues and they're excited for the new one. So it should get bigger.
Yeah.
And if his plan comes to fruition in the next year and he gets the books into bookstores, I think they're going to do really well.
Yeah, that would be pretty exciting. I would like to, see classical storytelling a return to, the non DEI or obligated type of storytelling, but return to the real storytelling. And as Michael Savage says, when men were men and when women were women, back when that mattered. And that's what makes things interesting, that polarization. For a battery, you need two poles. You need the male and the female. And that's how you get the electricity. You start mixing it all together, you don't have any more electricity. You have just bland, boring slop that nobody wants to read, nobody wants to watch, and nobody's interested in anymore. It destroys the market.
Absolutely. And that's why I think some of the books that are coming out now, a lot of the books that are coming out now have no political ties anymore because companies have seen it's not profitable. Like they were promised that a generation was being bred in schools to come out and love this shit.
Yeah.
And it's never come. And
Yeah.
now they've reached the zenith where, like, for instance, my own conspiracy theory in my head, but those Rockstar employees who were attempting to unionize and were fired recently, I think probably Rockstar is changing the story of the game and taking out some of the LGBT stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because the delay doesn't make any sense based on what it is, because it's delaying more and more. But it can't be engine at this point. It's got to be story that you have to re-record and do stuff. And I'm wondering if the ones who are trying to unionize, and because they're trying to unionize, obviously they're on the left, were mad that they're making changes now because they want to be profitable. They know that if you release a game like the new Saints Row or Dragon Age Valeyard, it's going to fail. No matter what you try to tell us, we know now.
Yeah. No, it's 100% right. And I think that they tried to force the change on us with all this behind the scenes DEI stuff that was connected to the financing of the big budget movies, video games, and everything. And now that they've gone for 5 or 6 years, and now all they're experiencing is flop after flop after flop, even with the video games, they don't want to take a risk and have Grand Theft Auto 6 flop. They've invested so much time, I don't know, 10, 12 years, so much money in that thing that they're going to totally, try to change the sticking points if they can. They're going to try to make it more consumable, more consumer friendly.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be better in the long run. But the main thing for that game is they wanted to be just as profitable with the online portion.
Yeah.
And
well,
if people are mad at the single player, they won't get it online.
No, that's yeah. I agree with you, and I think that they had these theories about how they could force people to participate, and I think people pretty much rejected it wholeheartedly. It'll be very interesting to see how that Halo remake goes. I'm just kind of watching that from the sidelines because I don't really play any of those games anymore. But I know that you have to watch it because that is what entertainment is now. It is such a big piece of entertainment. It's not really movies anymore. It's not really music. It's not really even like sports. It's video games because video games take all of the entire other markets all put together and they're still bigger financially. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of gripped in there without understanding that um, you can make an independent game with 3 programmers, but it takes 12 years and the
Well,
profits from one other game.
no. Well, you're completely right. You can make an independent game with just a few coders, and you can produce something that's really great and has a high profit. Like, look at that guy who made that Pokemon game where they had the guns. I forget what
Yeah,
that's called. But he made a ton of money off that. Or that one guy who made that they sold drugs and rode around on a skateboard.
yeah,
He made a ton of money. And then, like, you got what that ball pit game right now is going crazy, and everybody loves that ball pit game. And so, but you have to have that passion, right? You have to have the passion.
mm,
All of these other layers of corporatocracy on top of the passion that just drains out the passion, destroys it all. And doesn't matter how much you invest in it. When you go to market, they just can't compete with genuine desire. And that brings us back to what we were talking about. You can't sell something based on obligation. You can only sell it based upon excitement and genuine desire.
yeah, absolutely. Because things that get talked about as actual basis for the games is like Streets of Rage 4 and that Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. But those games took years to make because the sprite work is off the hook. And I'm like, you think you're going to get $3 million and get this made when? When is this going to come out? And for $60? But the crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to happen. And, it's very interesting, too. It's like as AI has improved, the quality of the games has gotten worse. You would assume that,
Yeah.
like, AI would enable one or two people to make fantastic games, but that hasn't happened. So, you got that whole, mythology right there. You don't know if you can believe it or whatever. But, it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Eric July's game and, him going forward. And, like, I'm sure you think the same way I think that this is just about raising money and faking a future to his audience in order to continue the money income to try to move into a different, industry until when? I don't know when, because he's not passionate about anything, right?
It's a means to an end.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that, it's been a very enlightening conversation. And, bro, I got to have you on more, man. We got to talk about this kind of stuff some more. And I'm really pumped on Vasilis's artwork, his comic, and he's got that new SaturnHead coming out. So I'll try to put the links down in the description below. What are you up to, Asian? What's going on with you nowadays?
Well, I've been preparing to build my channel for about years, but then my mom was sick, so I was dealing with that for a long time. And now this year, I've really gone back and started preparing for what I want to film, and that's why I'm growing the beard
Okay.
because it's most a representation of my third regeneration. And I have some footage from the past. I'm trying to line it up a little better, but I'm going to Vegas on Saturday for 2 weeks, and part of that now is I'm going to shoot in the desert because
Very
it's a
cool.
location that I never would have got yet before. So I pushed the video that I've been shooting further back because now I'm going to shoot 3 scenes there for 3 different videos and other cool stuff in the desert.
That sounds awesome. You better watch out for them dead bodies, bro. I heard they're buried all over out there. You know what I'm saying? Now, so you say you're shooting something. Are you putting together like a independent movie, or what are you doing?
No, I'm shooting for my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Hopefully mid-December, but probably January.
Okay.
Because I want it to be a higher quality single video kind of thing. So back like when Web 1.0 used to be long documentaries with weird lore, but I always thought that a lot of the skits were low production quality. So I thought I could up the production quality and make it an evergreen topic.
Okay.
So some of it would be just talking about movies that I like. Like if you like John Wick, what is a movie you can see from the past that it was inspired by that you can look at and see that's right now as opposed to waiting for another new movie? There's
Yeah,
plenty
yeah.
of movies that already exist that these things were inspired by.
Yeah, I definitely watched that. I don't have enough knowledge of the old movies, and I find one or two that are really good. Like I think a Seven Samurai might be one you're referencing, and I watched that. I own it.
Yeah.
I love that movie. But I'm always interested to learn about more movies. Like one of my favorite old movies that I just got was Metropolis, filmed in 1927, and that's
Oh, amazing.
That's a crazy movie, bro. That's a crazy movie. Talks about our time right now. So I would get a kick out of you, just with all of your background and understanding and knowledge, having a conversation about these movies. I would definitely love
Well,
that.
absolutely. If you ever thought of a movie you want to talk about, let me know. I'll watch it beforehand, and you watch it beforehand, and we can just go to town.
Oh, I would love that. It reminds me a little bit of that Coast to Coast. Did you ever watch that?
Oh, I have Coast to Coast on my YouTube channel. It's just
Yeah.
part on my YouTube list. It's just a channel that reposts old Coast to Coast shows, and it's
Yeah.
just the most comforting show ever.
Yeah, Coast to Coast with
'Cause
Art Bell. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in high school, or just after high school, I worked overnight at a department store in Canada called Zellers, which was like a Walmart type thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I would listen to it all night. That
No.
and the station I would listen to would also play radio plays, so I'd listen to The Shadow and stuff, and it was just a real education and cool stuff.
Oh, I used to love listening to that kind of stuff. When you would talk about paranormal activity, or you would talk
Yeah.
about anything like with the pyramids, bro, I was all in. And I remember I'd start listening, when it was 9 or 10, and it would go to like 1, and I'd be like trying to go to sleep,
Yeah.
but I'd still be listening to it. Like, what's he going to talk about? He was such a good a radio guy, Art Bell was. And I absolutely loved the whole thing. So, I definitely pick up that vibe with you. You already have that radio voice, bro. You already got it in the bag right there, dog. Get a little bit of that cigar or like cigarette going, and a
Yeah.
little smoke going up, and you already got me hooked. But now, what is your channel so that people can be on the lookout for it?
It's under Asian O, the Time Outlaw. on YouTube.
Okay.
There's a cover of Louie Louie by Motorhead up there right now. And then
Okay.
I think maybe an AI video, but not much. But in the next year, there's going to be a lot of stuff going up there. Like, my idea of success is to get monetization on the channel, to be able to write off the stuff I like to buy.
Yeah, I hear you right there. That's a genius right there. You can actually go buy like I remember, one of the big things that I bought this chrome human skull because I wanted to do drawings and paintings with the reflective skulls, and it was like $400 or $500 back in the day, and I still got it. Of course, I got a whole bunch of skulls. Don't tell anybody. They're not real. They're not real, people. But I got a whole bunch of skulls, and that's my favorite thing. My frivolous purchase that it's just this reflective skull, fully articulated and everything. And so I completely get what you're saying when you're like, hey, I want to buy some of this crazy stuff and be able to write it off, and make it work for me. So I'll definitely put.
Exactly. Like if I could buy new outfits and stuff, costumes and things, and
Yeah.
props.
No, all kinds of stuff, and like maybe even get yourself like a chrome leather jacket that's all reflective. That would be wild. But no, I'll put all of your links in down below. I'd love to have you on more to talk about more stuff, and I would love to come on your show and even talk about Metropolis or Seven Samurai or anything like that. I got a whole bunch of older movies like that. Now, Metropolis is fascinating. I got the extended cut with some never before seen. They always say that, right? Never before seen scenes, and I got some of those, and so maybe we'll watch that, and then we'll have a chat about it. That would be a lot of fun. But everybody, I'll put all of his links in the description down below. His YouTube link and his X link. He's a great guy, a great follow. He's got a lot of style. He's got that, he's got that gravitas. He's got that stoicism where you're kind of like, oh wait, hold on. He's got something important to say, and then right when he hits you with that deep voice, you're like, holy shit, he's a radio man. You know what I'm saying? So give him a follow. He's a good fella, and we'll be having you back more, Thanks for coming on. I sure appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. No problem. We'll see you guys around.
Yeah. We're out here, people. All right, go kick some ass.